And Daisy, this is the thing, principles, values, they're important. We need to be able to trust our leaders that on principle, they're not going to give a favoured outcome to people who work at a meatworks that seems to be a big donor of the Labor Party. You know, on principle, they're not going to give $500,000 to a Chinese government or a Chinese government affiliated, if not owned, entity that happens to be a resort and take no people. You know, on principle, there would be a much more clearer and more honest approach. And then when you get down to the values, I think the big lesson out of America, and Bronwyn's right, Daisy, and I'm sure you've got a view about that, is that the centre-right parties are now the parties for the workers. I mean, you look at what rural America did, you look at what the blue-collar workers through some of the great iron states, the so-called Rust Belt states, where they used to make a lot of things and now they're making things again because of Trump. Those sort of voters here in Australia, the productive elements of our community, are looking for leadership based around principles and values.
Well, yes, exactly. And honestly, Gary, this is what is so funny about the situation in America at the moment. Those Australian Labor politicians who are so smugly saying, oh, how wonderful it is that the Democratic Party went to the centre-left and got back the working class. Let's go over there and see how they did it. They obviously haven't done their research or paid nearly enough attention to what's actually going on in those states. Because if you look at, say, the state map of Wisconsin or Michigan or Pennsylvania, you will see that almost like the vast, giant chunk of those Democratic votes did not come from the rural counties. They did not come from the working class. They came from the urban centres and the suburbs. There are that tiny amount of big blue counties that are so densely populated is what has actually pushed those states back over the Democratic line. So no, far from getting back the working class and the rural class, etc., all the Democrats managed to do using Orange Man bad and COVID as a pushing point was to attract more latte-sipping leftists and disaffected university students in the cities. They have in no way at all reclaimed the working class. And the funnier thing, Gary, and this I think is my favourite thing, for 4 years they have lied and cheated and undermined and smeared and lied about Trump supporters and fabricated things about Russian collusion, etc., etc. They have done everything to paint Donald Trump as the worst thing since Mussolini, and they still didn't get their blue wave. They still didn't get the vast democratic sweep of America that they all expected, no matter how many dirty tricks they tried. So far from the great repudiation of Trumpism they were wondering. And look, I'm still hopeful, you know. If Joe Biden wins this election fair and square, congratulations to him. I hope he does a wonderful job. Yep. Donald Trump is still in with a shot. There will be a recount in Georgia, Arizona. The Republicans are confident they are going to get it. But if the Democrats were looking for a great big vindication that they were right all along, I'm sorry, but even if Joe Biden wins, they haven't got it.
You know, Gideon, this is where I'm at. At the beginning of the program, I talked about the need to get some of the red tape, some of the restrictions of some of the real things that need to happen. The federal government and, you know, Josh Frydenberg and Matthias Cormann, who's now left the scene, and what a great job he did, and I wish him well. You know, those two, and Scott Morrison, obviously, really did, you know, create a debt bubble for Australia, but it was for a purpose. It was for a reason, I guess. It was to put a floor under the economy. But what we now need is for the things in the economy that are preventing real jobs being created. Gladys Berejiklian's talking about trying to get Screw Turner from Flight Centre to relocate to Sydney, wants to have jobs. All of this looks faux unless you get real reform when it comes to red tape and the procedures, a lot of them inspired by international agreements that are preventing the productive elements, the entrepreneur elements of our economy getting on with the job we need them to do.
Look, one thing I'll say about Gladys is that she's announced today, I believe, that there's a plan to exempt businesses from payroll tax for jobs, you know, the certain number of new jobs they create. I think that's actually a really, really good move. Payroll tax, you know, talked about taxes that are rendering us uncompetitive. Well, payroll tax should be the first to go. That's a tax on jobs. It's an awful tax, and it should absolutely be the first thing that should go. But you're right, Gary. I mean, when I look at the economic debate in this country, even from people on the supposedly right-wing, conservative, liberal side of politics, is so unimaginative. All we hear about when when it comes to economic debate is the need to invest in things and shovel money into the economy in whichever way the perennial army of rent-seeking, lanyard-wearing lobbyists on marching around Parliament House in Canberra say it should be directed in. We need to get serious about real tax reform. We need to get serious about cutting red tape. We need to get serious about making it easier for businesses to hire people, to hire young people in particular who are being completely shut out of work. And even before the coronavirus hysteria made our leaders, for God knows what reason, chuck thousands of people out of work. Even before that, we had a combined youth underemployment and unemployment rate of 30%. 1 in 3 Australian young people. We will never get this debt. I don't think we'll get the debt paid off in my lifetime anyway, but we will certainly not get paid off if the same the same hindrances on our economy are left to hold back the attempts at job creation and wealth creation in this country. But looking around, I just don't see the political will for serious economic reform. I hope in time I'll prove it wrong, and maybe we'll have it forced upon us when we realise, we're on the verge of turning into a banana republic. But right now, all I see is just more creative proposals for, shoveling more money into as many idiotic projects as possible. I don't think we're going to get there through that.